And he brings up a good point. So look,
If you read the Adam and Eve story and don't see nothing wrong with it, I can't help you. Watch this.
Adam and Eve ate from the tree of what?
The knowledge of good and evil.
Right. So before they ate from that tree, they didn't have an understanding of good and evil, did they?
no.
But they were given the command not to eat
Why? It's a yes or no question, bro.
from that tree.
So, see, here's the thing. I just asked a very specific question that's going to expose the flaw in your thinking, and instead of answering it, you answered a different question. So here we go. Before they ate from the tree, did they know right from wrong?
No.
Okay, if they didn't know right from wrong, how could they possibly know that it was wrong to disobey God and eat from that tree?
They
If
didn't.
I tell my child not to do something,
I'm sorry, Marjorie, your child already knows right from wrong. Adam and Eve did not know right from wrong. How can you punish someone for doing something wrong if they didn't know it was wrong?
Yeah, just let that marinate in your spirit real quick.
And so it's very interesting to think about it this way, because he's not saying that they weren't wrong. He's just saying that even though Adam had the command of not to do it, he didn't understand what right and wrong was. He just knows he was told not to, but he didn't understand it was wrong necessarily to disobey until after he ate it. Then he understood he had did something bad because he didn't obey. Like, so I don't know. I don't know how it debunks the whole thing, but it definitely makes you think about it a little bit differently and in a different way. Oh. But with that being said, this is also something I love getting into. This is a very interesting kind of big brain thought, because first off, we say we have God, right? Overall creator, and God doesn't think like us, and his logic is flawless. His mind is perfect. God is perfect. His will is perfect. Well, his design is perfect, right? If we approach it from that instance, people say, well, then how do we have us? And how do we have the fact of suffering and pain? It's like we have free will, so we're allowed to do what we want, which is not necessarily what God wants, which is why things don't work out perfectly, because we're not perfect and we're doing what we want, not what God wanted. And so with that being said, with the concept of like heaven and hell, it took a minute for me to really think about it this way. But if God is the overall creator, they say that we live in a simulation and the whole world is simulated, and computers simulate things, right? And in order to make things work in simulations, there are codes and there are a series of numbers. And think about it like this. We have our code of zeros and ones, and they argue that everything is a series of zeros and ones, and it's a code. So if God is the ultimate program and the ultimate programmer and the ultimate code, it can only be a 0 or a 1. So if anything comes up that strays from that 0 or that 1, I have to get rid of it. There is no if, ands, buts, or maybes, no room for yes or no, because I am working on a code, and anything outside of this code is going to get deleted, dog. Simple as that. But with him also being the creator and understanding that the imperfections do exist, he left a way for it. You feel me? Or it's like people will say all religions point to God. I'm not going to argue that they don't. But there's only one religion that points to God and says that there was need for a mediator. And that mediator was Christ, right? And the reason why he had to come in is because he was operating a computer like, all right, bet the program is going to work exactly how it's been designed to work. It's going to delete anything that's not a 1 or a 0, which means there's going to be a lot of things wiped off this hard drive that are actually useful and beneficial. So I'll step in as the head engineer on the project, and I'll siphon out the code and try and get it sorted through. And this is why Christianity has Jesus in place. He's our buffer from getting deleted, because he's reading into why our code isn't ones and zeros. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of a big brain thought, like I said. If we live in a computer, or if we lived in a computer in a simulation, and God is the ultimate code and program, and he's running the whole world based off of this script of ones and zeros, he is a computer. He cannot adjust. He cannot make segues and yes and no's or maybes or look at the criteria this way or the circumstance. There is no circumstance that matters. This is why in the Bible, it says no sin is greater than the other in the eyes of God, because he is not looking at circumstance. He is looking at right and wrong, yes and no, black and white answers. Is like literally, this is what we're working with, yes or no. If it is not this, then it is that, and if it is that, it's getting deleted. If it's this, it's getting saved. We have Jesus come in as the mediator who says, let's look at the circumstance in the situation in your heart posture and what you are doing as a person to be a better person, and if you are living up to my moral ground of loving everybody, because you can move out of love and still hurt somebody's feelings. You feel me? Right. His overall goal was to get our heart posture right, to get our mind right, to get us to want to line up with being a 1 or a 0. If we could start getting on that path, then there's some mediation that can happen. God does not work like that. He is a computer code, dog. It is either yes or no, right or left. And if you're not with it, you getting X'd out. Jesus had to step in to try and reprogram the coder. That's how I think about it. It took me a long time to understand, like, the whole aspect of bad things happening and stuff like that, and it's because we're not acting completely to code. So of course the world isn't going to be a perfect simulation if the code started fucking up. Like, but then I also wanted to understand why Jesus was the overall end all for Christianity, and it's like the goal isn't necessarily just to talk to Jesus. It's just we don't speak God's code and the way that we are when we get here innately. So we don't understand what he be saying. Oh, you need someone to lead you to be able to understand what God is even trying to say, because we missed it. So whatever, dog. I'm gonna stop philosophizing with theology. You know, a lot of people probably be like, what is he talking about? That's how I think about it.